It's amazing the synergy between what Lynn said and Dr. Steve to what I'm going to talk about. Legacy, wealth, health, it all comes to the same basic foundations. What I'm going to spend my time on is, like Jeff kind of prefaced, of the process that you can embark on to try to get the best laid plan that you possibly can. And it does take, like Dr. Stevens said, the upfront energy and time to make it worthwhile to get the best end results. So you're wondering why I have a beach ball? I'm a fun one. But has anybody been to a Jimmy Buffett concert? And the beach balls are bouncing around? If you take the average family, especially a family that has a business, there's all these issues that they have to deal with and that are rattling around as nerves, anxieties, issues, could be mentally important at the time. Some of them are at the back of your thought process, but there's all these issues you've got to deal with, right? And a lot of people in this room help clients solve these. The challenge is, how do you balance them? So our firm did a presentation at an association last month where we had about 180 business owners, and we had beach balls, and we wrote each one of those things on the beach ball, threw them out there, and for 30 seconds played music and said, keep these balls in the air. And you can imagine the chaos. Balls are going everywhere. 2 were left at the end of 30 seconds. At the end of 30 seconds. The point of that was all the other ones got dropped. That's what happens when you have all these issues you've got to deal with, and you're trying to balance all these. Some of them are more important than others at the time. So how do you do that? And imagine the anxiety that goes with that. The traditional planning process. Usually the family unit has or the patriarch, the individual has an issue, and it's a nerve at the time. So they basically take that, identify that, they identify the issues, some of the things that go with it, and basically they take those, let me get rid of this, thank you. So they take those issues, anxiety points, to the appropriate advisor that has the knowledge, has the skills to help them with that. And they basically share that information, they engage that service provider, and a tactic, technique, strategy gets implemented, and it makes perfect sense. It's a perfect idea. What's the challenge? Implementing with confidence. There's always, or usually, something in your gut that says, I don't know if the reaction, action that can happen if I fix this problem is something else going to pop up, like whack-a-mole. Hit 1, 2 pop up, but you don't know when it's going to pop up. You don't know the size or the magnitude of what's going to pop up. So what ends up happening is a lot of people just stall. They just basically stall what they're trying to do. So how do you implement with confidence? How do you get over that hump and understand the recourse of these decisions? Because some of them contradict each other. Asset planning, tax planning, liquidity and cash flow planning, those contradict each other. So how do you deal with that? One of our clients has the best line, and we kind of stole this from him. Everything has to do with everything, and that is reality, just like in the medical. And I saw that such a similarity with Dr. Steve was talking that it all interacts, and you've got to find out what is the foundational issues that you have to deal with in order to basically bring in the light so that things happen. This is our process, and I'm not going to go real deep into this, but more of a philosophy that I think you need to kind of embrace when you're tackling this mission. Our tagline is know your story. What does that mean? We personally, and I think the floor as well mentioned, has a very similar process and philosophy here is our job, it's our job and our duty to truly know somebody's story before you ever suggest a thing, idea, strategy, anything. And it's also our duty and our role to help that client truly know their story. Most people that come in to see us have a small version of what their story really is. They don't know with clarity. And our process helps create that. The first step you'll see up there to the left is still wisdom. It's still wisdom up on the left. That is our process of gathering information, interviewing people, getting the facts, getting the landmines, issues, goals, things that need to be done, and we call it still wisdom. At the end of that process, you have these laid out still wisdom points. Those become foundational anchors that you build your plan on to move forward. Without those, What happens is implementation with confidence doesn't happen. Landmines blow up. Things don't get carried out to year 2 or 3. They just stop. After you go through still wisdom, instinct verification, we spend a lot of time validating things. So once you have these clarity points for still wisdom and anchors, there's ideas that come from the advisory team. You create brainstorming. You create these ideas share. Once you have those, then you have to validate them or stress test them. That's our process called instinct verification, so you can see the numerical impact of ideas. And lastly, pulse of progress, that's getting stuff done. That is also a challenge. Most entrepreneurs, they don't want to do heavy lifting. They like the growth of the business, the exciting, the sales, new clients. This stuff is negative. I don't want to think about that. It's all we call it defensive. It's all defensive planning. That gets boring and old. How do you make it offensive? Growth, what the future looks like, future expectations, capturing those. So you have to balance those two. So we'll take the Smith stakeholder group here. What do? You take this group, whether it's just liquid assets in a family group, or it's a family business, or it's a business that has multiple different owners and they're working together and they have a lot of unity. What we do is we help them establish basically global macro goals. How do you establish global macro goals? Our process, or what we encourage, is you have to interview all the stakeholders. Okay, to us, a stakeholder is anybody that's vital to the success or failure of a business or a family group, is going to have recourse by an action taken, or their voice needs to be heard. Those where you find the landmines. To us, that could be the patriarch, partners, kids in the business, active and inactive kids. It can be financial advisors. It can be key employees. Whoever is important needs to be interviewed. When we interview those people, what ends up happening is you take all those items that we were talking about, all those balls that are bouncing around, we interview these people independently so we get a true voice with no influence. Then we take their views on all those things and push it through a filter to basically get detailed goals, facts, and findings. You would be astonished at how you can look at one company, for example, and see 5 different perspectives. That's what helps us get reality. Because a lot of times people look through things with rose-colored glasses, especially entrepreneurs. We're optimistic, we're futuristic, we think the best. So this process helps us get these different perspectives. Thus, you see landmines that are going to occur. And then you can avoid them. You can basically communicate around them, like Glenn said, communication. You can work through them and understand where they're going to pop up. Then you take these detailed goals, facts, and findings, filter them again. What ends up happening is global macro goals. So this is that foundation of issues, goals, objectives, fears, anxieties, landmines that you basically create as the anchor point that everybody works knowing this. Okay? Most people have never been through that process. What do you do with that after you have those? In our process, what we do is now we go to that advisor group. We share this still wisdom. Now what that does is it gives them that whole picture. Like Dr. Steve was saying, I got to know the whole picture before I can diagnose something. The challenge is with most advisors, John and Marty, is you get limited information, right? About that specific area. So we're trying to do the same. Here's all the advisors have the same information. And then collectively we can sit there and work together. Let's brainstorm. Now that we know all the facts, we know all the landmines, we know all the emotional issues, we can create ideas, strategies, and tactics and techniques to help solve this and create this legacy plan. Global macro goals, once you get those, basically you're working with this advisory group. If they don't fit, don't do it. I don't know how many people, including myself, I have shiny object syndrome sometimes. One thing to the next, bouncing what's exciting and what's hot at the time. You got to avoid that if you're trying to create a plan you can carry out. So it's the accountability of the advisor group that if it doesn't help accomplish those global macro goals, you don't do it. If it does, obviously, it's worth bringing up. Then once you do stress test it, okay? At our firm, we have some unique modeling capabilities that you can numerically stress test things. But numerical is just one of the realms that you need to stress test things. You have to look at things numerically, operationally, and relationally. And I don't know if that has ever been thought of, but our findings, the relationally, is the biggest issue you got to deal with. The interaction of people that will blow things up, and the plan will not get carried out. And the best laid plan is the one that actually gets implemented, followed, and executed on, and you can do it year after year after year and maintain something. So we stress test the options and issues basically in those three realms. You're not planning in a vacuum. So ultimately, you can have a process that you create still wisdom, no clarity, align your advisors, your wealth advisor, your CPA, your attorney, corporate attorney, banker, bonding agent, whatever is needed. You can corral this advisor team with basically the same goals and objectives, get them to align themselves, get them to create solutions, vet them together, and then have one voice to come bring options and solutions with. And then ultimately implement with confidence. You know your whole advisory team is agreed, together, and rowing in the same direction. Versus usually what ends up happening over time, they separate and they have competitive ideas, competitive issues. And then obviously you got to review it. My objective today really is to share a process that we have seen that very rarely gets implemented. And just a couple of questions to relay out is, do you truly know your story? And from what we see, most people have a version. But it's usually a very quick version that you've thought of, but it's never down on paper. It's never very holistic. It's not deep. So you know that story. And you understand the inner workings of things. And understand if you focus on estate planning, there's going to be something else that could possibly cause some anxiety, and you're willing to understand the consequences of that and accept that. And you accept it, you're ready to deal with that. And then lastly, are your advisors working together? Are they collaborative? Are they rowing in the same direction? Or you get caught in the middle, hearing conflicting ideas, you don't know what to do, so you stall. There's a process we can disengage that feeling and create more of a unity between advisors. Just for the sake of a quick case study, just to share, we have a family group, a father-son, and when we met them, they had a plan in place, have great advisors on the tax side, legal side, and son is taking over father's business. Father is 55 years old, son is in his young 30s, aggressive, already running the company, things are going well, and they have a document of a transition plan. And he gives son shares over the next 10 years, then he's going to buy me out. Makes perfect sense, right? Sounds great. But when you do those interviews and you see from different perspectives what that picture looks like, you have undercurrents starting to happen. Son sits there and goes, I appreciate that. He's given me all the opportunity in the world. But I'm the one that's going to be grinding this out for the next 10 years, and then I'm going to buy the business out at a much greater value, and I got nothing for all that hard work. That's not fair. Dad, on the other hand, basically says, I need that money to live on. I deserve it. I'm the one that gave him all this opportunity, and I'm the one that had all the risk on my shoulders and had the bank loans that were in my name. The reality was you had two different people that had great intentions, but over time, the underlying currents would have caused some anxiety. You never would have known that unless we interviewed in the way we did to find out. Jump ahead. We have a great plan now that things are moving forward. So, if you have any questions about the process that we can help at different stages, please let us know.
Thank you.